The next thing we want to do is secure the domain and social media. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to one of my favorite name registrars, which is namecheap.com. And I'm just going to search narrative, is that spelled right? Notes.com and just see if that is available. That's best case scenario. It is not. I didn't think it would be because it's quite a pop. These are two popular words. Looks like someone's just kind of sitting on it. So narrative notes is not available. At least the .com isn't. We want to try to get the .com because 80% of people will try .com first. And so it's just nice if people are randomly typing it in. But that's not a necessity, right? We could see if .fm is available. Narrative notes.fm. It is available. That is usually a $100 per year domain. That's pretty expensive considering the .coms or the .orgs are around $15 a year. So that's something else to consider. If you want the .fm, you're going to pay a premium price for it. The other thing that we could do is go to my other favorite domain name registration site, hover.com, and type in narrative notes there. I find that the ideas this one generates are generally pretty good. So we can see a bunch of options here that we might be interested in. Let's take a look at suggestions because this is where it'll suggest other words for us to use. So like one narrative notes center. We could always try like narrative notes pod or podcast. But in this case, because the .com pod is available, the other thing that you'd want to consider here is you want to make it easy to speak because you'll presumably be saying this on your podcast. So like narrativenotespod.com is a lot, not quite as good as narrative notes. So I think what I would probably do in this situation is get either the .org or some other result that has narrative notes in it. But this is up to you. This is your preference. If you really want the .com, you could try something like narrative notes pod, right? You can try adding pod or podcast. The other thing that you could do is pick up a couple, right? So like narrativenotes.org and narrativenotespodcast.com. So that you have some options and then you can redirect them to each other. But that's what I would do as far as domain name research goes.